People hate being expected to do quick math. Now, what do you think you're going to be expected to do? So the way we determine how far a ship is going to move in a certain period of time, or given that distance, how fast it's going, is called the 6-minute rule. The Navy has things like the 3-minute rule, but that's because they use yards more often than they use nautical miles. As mariners, we're just going to focus on the 6-minute rule. And the shortest way to explain this is just that 6 is, 1/10 of 60. Therefore, if you were going a certain speed in, knots, miles per hour, in 6 minutes, you would go 1/10 of what that total speed is describing. Even though that sounds really simple, it really throws people off. And I've had kids stare at me blankly when I tried to explain that more than enough times. So we're going to really break down exactly why that makes sense. And let's take the simplest version. In 60 minutes, if you're going, well, that's the wrong way to write it. If you are going 10 knots for 60 minutes, you will go 10 nautical miles, right? Because a knot is a nautical mile per hour. 60 minutes is 1 hour, so 10 nautical miles per hour for an hour gets you 10 nautical miles. Okay, easy. If you're going 10 knots for 30 minutes, you get 5 nautical miles. Also easy. It's a half of the total time that would have taken you to go 10 nautical miles, so it gets you 5 nautical miles. Well, we can break it down further. 10 knots for 15 minutes gets you 2.5 nautical miles. We could call all of these different rules, the 60-minute rule, the 30-minute rule, the 15-minute rule, but mariners think these are all so obvious that it's not worth being, codified. You just, anytime you go 60 minutes, whatever your speed is listed, that's how far you're going to go. Anytime you go for 30 minutes, you can just take half of your speed and expect it to go that far. Anytime 15, 1/4. Okay, well, let's bring it down to 6 minutes. At 10 knots for 6 minutes, how far do you go? Well, 6 is 1/10 of 60. This is 1/10 of the total time frame of an hour, meaning you're going to go 1/10 of whatever your speed is listed as. So at 10 knots, you would end up going 1 nautical mile. If you're going 15 knots for 6 minutes, guess what? 1.5 nautical miles. 25 knots, 2.5. 30 knots, 3 nautical miles. Anytime you go for an interval of 6 minutes, you can just take whatever your speed was, divide it by 10. Don't even think of it as dividing by 10. Just move the decimal over. It's the same thing, but you don't have to make it that mathematical if that's what trips you up. Move the decimal over, and that's exactly how far you're going to move. Conversely, if you get a fix at one point in time and then another fix exactly 6 minutes later, you could just measure that distance. Let's say it's 0.8 nautical miles. And you could say, okay, well, that was in 6 minutes. So if I multiply that by 10, I'll get 8, which is my speed. Anytime you wait a period of 6 minutes and then find the distance you moved between the two, that's how far you went in 1/10 of an hour. So if you multiply it by 10, you get the total speed you're doing. This is actually really simple once you get the hang of it. It's not even something you need to write down or think about. You can just always move this decimal around and figure out exactly what you're doing. And this is why when we work with charts, we make our DR positions in 6-minute intervals while doing coastal navigation, because that's the easiest way to both predict speed and to calculate speed after the fact if you're doing things like set and drift.